Hey guys, this is Yoda. In this video, I will explain one of the Shado-Pan mechanics that can allow you to gain a lot more damage out of Flurry Strikes, especially the Shadow proc. So, first thing we're going to explain is how does it all actually work. So the way Shado-Pan works is every some amount of damage that you do, you generate a Flurry charge, and then once you spend 240, or with the tier set, it's 120 in Weapons of Order. I know it says 150, it's a bug, or tooltip error, whatever. It's actually 120. Every time you spend that much energy, you'll spend all of your Flurry Strike charges. So what it doesn't tell you is that you can hold up to 10 Flurry Strike charges, and if you are just playing the game normally, like in combat with mobs doing a rotation, you will almost always be able to generate 10 Flurry Strike charges before you spend like that much energy, either 120 in Weapons of Order or 240 outside. So the next thing you need to know is Wisdom of the Wall. Every 10 Flurry Strikes, you get a buff. So what usually happens is you generate 10 Flurry Strike charges like immediately, and then whenever you spend them, you hit the dummy 10 times, or the enemy 10 times with a Flurry Strike, and then after all 10 hits, you get a buff. So you can actually change this by incrementing it a little bit differently. So the game remembers how many Flurry Strike charges until the next Wisdom of the Wall proc, between Flurry Strike hits, and it also remembers it when the key starts. So the way we're going to game this is that we're going to spend 9 Flurry Strike charges before the key, like on a target dummy. This is not going to be your normal rotation, anything but we're going to set this up before the key starts. Spend 9 Flurry Strikes, so that the next time we spend 10, the first hit will proc Wisdom of the Wall, and then 9 hits will have that Wisdom of the Wall buff applied to them. So for instance, let's say you have the first one gives you Shadow, you'll get 9 hits of Shadow. So let's say in a normal Shadow window, like it lasts for 40 seconds, you're able to generate and spend 240 energy like 2 times. So normally what would happen is you proc Shadow at the end of your Flurry Strikes, do no damage, and then proc 2 more times, hit 20 times. Now what's going to happen is you proc Shadow, and then that Flurry Strike still hits 9 more times, and then you do 2 more times. So instead of 20 hits, you get 29 hits out of that buff, which is a massive increase. Inside Weapons of Order, it's not as big of a deal, but let's say you get it, and then you proc like 4 to 5 more Flurry Strikes. So instead of like 40 Flurry Strike hits, you would get 49 with the Shadow buff. The same also applies obviously to all the other buffs, but it's way more important with the Shadow buff because like these other ones are like crit strike damage increased by 30%. It's increasing the damage of your Flurry hits by like maybe 10%. The Shadow one is increasing the damage of your Flurry hits by like multiple hundreds of percent because it's uncontrolled and because it's AoE basically. So yeah, it's way more important how many more Shadow hits you get. Anyway, so to actually set that up, we need to play the game abnormally on target dummies before the key starts. So the first thing we need to do is we need to spend a bunch of energy, just not doing any damage. As you can see, I'm just spinning on nothing. You can also do this with Vivify. Okay, so I spent 220. Now I'm going to do this one more time. I spent 225. So next Tiger Palm I do, or even one Vivify, is going to proc Wisdom of the Wall, right? Or it's going to proc my 10 Flurry Strikes. So now I need to generate 9 Flurry charges. So I'm going to do that by hitting the target dummy without spending any energy. Now you could like build energy while hitting it. Just be really careful and don't like over build Flurry charges. Okay, so I'm at 8. I'm at 9 now. So I'm going to Vivify myself twice. Okay, so as you can see, it spent 9 Flurry charges. So now, I did not get a Wizard of the Wall buff, but the next time I proc Flurry Strikes, I'm going to get one, I'm going to proc this on the first hit, and then the next 9 hits will have the buff applied to it. So I'm going to do that real quick. Just going to play the game normally here. As you can see, playing the game normally, you will always, almost always hit 10. Okay, so then it's going to proc very soon. Bang. So it gave me crit, and then it hit the dummy 9 more times, right? And now we're back to 1. So that is one pre-K setup you can do. It can get messed up during the key, and it's kind of hard to fix. There are a few ways. Number one, especially during Weapons of Order, if you don't generate like 10 Flurry Strikes of damage before spending that much energy, then this can get fucked up. Number two, if your like Flurry Strikes is the last thing to hit an enemy and he dies before he can spend all 10, then it's another way this can get fucked up. And there's probably a few other ways that I don't really know about, but those are the 2 main ways that I do know of. There is another thing you can do to set it up before the key starts. So Wisdom of the Wall always procs these 4, which everyone knows mostly by now that plays Shado-Pan. It always procs the 4 buffs you can get all 4, like one of each, before resetting. So you'll never get 2 shadows in a row, like in the first set, same set of 4. You can potentially get 2 shadows in a row if it's like the last one of the first set and the first one of the next set. But basically what I'm trying to say here is you can set it up so that before the key starts, you know that one of your next 2 buffs is going to be Shadow, or even if that your next buff is going to be Shadow, if you're willing to like hit the dummy enough times and then log out. So basically this resets when you log out. I am not going to demo it here, but as you can see, this weak aura says that I cannot get crit in my next 3, right? I will need to proc Flurry Strikes at least 3 more times before I can get crit. You can make it do that for any buff, so ideally, you know, you want Shadow and crit damage as your 2 highest. So what you could do is do this and proc like until you proc Mastery and Dodge first, and then if it doesn't happen, you just log out. Look, I'm gonna log out and I'm gonna log back in. Obviously, like, I'm not gonna go through every case and show that this is actually true, but the weak aura will show you if you trust the weak aura once my game loads. As you can see, this counter got reset and this counter also got reset. So whenever I get new buffs, so I'd have to reset it up again. So basically you have to set up the deck of cards so that your next 2 or your next buffs or whatever you want, however try hard you're willing to go. You know, I imagine in a world first key you're gonna make it so Shadow and crit your first 2, and then like set up. And the next thing you're gonna do is set up your Flurry Strikes so that you proc Wisdom of the Wall on your next hit. So I have not seen that many people actually setting this up, but the amount of extra damage you do is quite large. I would say maybe a 20 to 30% increase in the damage done of your Flurry Strikes. That is pure napkin math. I completely made that number up. I'm sure someone that is smarter than me will figure out actually how much more it is. But yeah, it is a large amount more Flurry Strike damage, and it's not really captured by any sims that I know of. Alright, that's it for showing the tip. Thank you all for watching. Peace out.